when I used to tell this story, or when it was happening, I would tell it more humorous. I would laugh at it more. But I don't know. Perhaps it's. I wouldn't. Let's not say the word maturity. It's definitely not that. It's just hindsight. Uh, my father dying and seeing. Well, not even my father dying, but my mother living. Seeing what a life of reckless partying and constantly living on the edge can do to a person. If they survive, prison. My mother never got imprisoned. I don't want to snitch my mother out, but the amount of crimes she's committed, like heinous crimes. Both man's law, but also just against humanity. God's law. However you choose to see them. That's the thing, though. I remember when I would go to their AA and NA meetings, my parents, the time that they did, try to give a good attempt to sober up, mainly for my sake, But I was never realizing it. They wouldn't have bothered. They would have been dead if it wasn't for me. They tried real hard. And I remember, and they shouldn't, I don't think this is Boa. They were in a loose AA. They shouldn't have allowed kids to be there at the table, listening. And maybe it was good for me. It was good, I think. That, the thing in AA and NA meetings is they have usually, and different meetings go about it in different ways, but the stereotype you've seen it. I'm going to tell my story. That's the case. But what you might not know is how fucking funny these stories can be. Oh my god, and people are just, they've come to terms with the absurdity of their life and the rock bottoms, And they're at a point where they can admit these things. That's the thing, I don't, in my unorthodox road of recovery and sobriety, a decade or so ago, I tried to go to AA and NA, AA meeting. I went to it for a solid half year. I tried. Relapsed. About a half year after. I don't know. I'm not writing it out of pocket that I won't try to attend ones just for the companionship, but one thing that I did learn from them, and that I believe in my heart of hearts, is the redemptive power of storytelling. That's what, obviously, why this. I mean, it might seem like mostly madness, but there's a method underneath it, and not just methamphetamine. I flushed meth down the toilet about 5 years ago or so. I was, and was this? This might have been after. After I had gotten, where the story's gonna go. After I got arrested, even. I still was partying, still got the party going. And somebody gave me just a ton of free meth. I'd never done meth before. I had seen all of Breaking Bad, so I had no excuse. I did some for a couple weeks. And again, there was a lot of meth they gave me for free. I mean, there was a scheme behind it, obviously, but I felt what it did to me, what it was doing to me, where I could be going, the depths, the real dark depths, and I just seen it with fucking Freddy and everything, but, I mean, you can't repeat the past, of course you can. I flushed it on the toilet, though. I could have sold it, but why would I do that? That shit's evil. Like, I love marijuana. Heck, back in the day when I could handle it, I would support acid, hallucinogens, most people couldn't use it. But I believe I had a bad trip, and I believe that my neuroplasticity isn't as reliable as it used to be, and I learned as much as I could, so I'm not going to push it. But that being said, I believe in my heart of hearts that, cocaine, and obviously opioids, and any of these harder drugs are inevitable ruin. You might get lucky, but most people don't. That's what I got to see in that summer of 13. That's what really fucking broke me, because I both was battling it against it, but it was within me. And I believe also it was making me think back to my childhood and repressed memories I didn't want to acknowledge, and that I would not acknowledge for another 8 years, about my parents and their heroin addiction and everything and all this fucking, you know. That's why I drew such an affinity to it. At Cleo, obviously. I thought I could be a healer, but as I would learn, oh no, I'd have wounds, scars that refuse to heal. Time wounds all heals, you know. So, long story short, Freddy's gone, Rob's gone, boom, we beat the devil, house party. So my good buddy I made there, we'd be fucking scheming and dreaming. I'm talking, we were fucking goofballs, man. Ebony and Ivory, man. So he had been at the gathering of the Vibes. We used to be down in Connecticut, so he had been down there. So he came back up and he's like, yo, I got some fucking acid, man. Now, I didn't know, man. He must have gotten hooked up with somebody who had, like, the fucking Timothy Leary private stock, because this was some good-ass acid. So I'm in a position where maybe I shouldn't take this acid, because I have work the next day. I was fucking at that point the summer manager of the coffee shop at that campus, so I was like, yeah, fuck it. Hey, man, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space, you know what I mean, brother? So take the acid. And we have a very, actually, a good experience together as friends, you know, talking about shit, just fucking tripping out, listening to music, you know, being goofy. But the thing about acid is, it always takes a turn. Sometimes when you don't want it. And you often can't do anything to stop that. And people around you can put you into a dark space. And if you have unresolved traumas and demons, they come out in weird kaleidoscopic forms, you know. I used to take a lot of acid. I took fucking many tabs. So I thought, well, what were two going to do for me? But because that summer had been such a spiritual experience, and because I had such unresolved tensions and traumas and loves, and this was just stuck in this arrested development in a decaying McMansion, old cult, you know, what was I going to do? Hooking up with 18 and 19-year-olds? Yeah. You know, what? Like, no. I had to get out of there. So maybe I knew the only way to fly was to do something like George Costanza, sabotage myself so absurdly that there would be no going back. I don't know what was going through my mind, but so the night progresses, and the acid went off. Now, there's a bone of contention among some of my friends at the time that it was just that I smoked just weed, and it was, but no. I didn't have any weed of my own, and I asked one of my good buddies who was there, who had weed. Now, he got this weed not from his regular connect, but from a fucking dude pretty much off the fucking streets randomly there in Hartford. So, I'd, took some from him. Thankfully, I did not go any of the cocaine there with my doing this rocket for, yeah, it was a scene. So I smoked some of the weed, man, and I'm listening to my favorite album of that year. It's fucking Queens of the Stone Age, Like Clockwork now. Long story short, Like Clockwork is a very parallel to this whole mess, because it's about Josh Homme's near-death experience because of ultimately his own ego and frailties and substance abuse masquerading as a lie. So I'm fucking grooving in the basement, but I swear, after I smoke this weed, it hits me in a way the weed usually did not hit me, and I believe that it was tainted with PCP. Because, you know, in Hartford, I've smoked tainted weed before by, you know, accident and happenstance, you know, and it's a weird feeling. You know the feeling. And I'm probably sure it definitely had to be Lace, because the only person at the time that was really saying that I was wrong was a dude who I knew was a fucking that dude Kaplan, a fucking dealer doing dust, tainting shit all the time. So it definitely was. But I break. My mind breaks. This is maybe at 5 in the morning. Keep in mind, I got to be at work at like 7. It's 5 in the morning. And I'm like, well, you might just pass out, so go to work, pass out behind the coffee shop, say set your alarm then, so no matter what, you'll just roll up, and even if customers show up, they'll awaken you, and you'll be there to serve them. Now you're thinking. Whole sport. So I leave the frat house. I'm walking. The campus is small, so it's not that long of a walk. But old things have taken a turn in my brain, and it becomes an incredibly long walk. A walk of eternity. So I'm listening to these music, and it's just this kaleidoscopic thing, and I know it has to be some kind of PCP intermingling with the lingering hallucinogens in my system, because I start thinking I am Jesus. Which, I mean, you look the part. So I fucking go absolutely batshit. Alright? And it's hard to explain. But a psychotic break in which I'm living in multiple kind of scenarios in my head as I'm walking. And it's this weird narcissistic Buddhist reflection. Ultimately, just a reflection of my dissatisfaction about where I was. So at one point I'm thinking that I'm just going to run off into the woods and never come back. Leave the work behind, leave the world behind, find some tribe out in the woods and just fucking go into the wild, And another part I have that I am actually Jesus living out some weird simulacrum, I don't know. But then in another, it's this weird Buddhist thing in which I'm thinking that, like, this is drugs. I'm thinking I'm in some weird spiritual vision quest in which this is, in my life, my last chance of reincarnation. So this is my last permutation of this given life in the circle of time. And that each permutation, similar to Groundhog Day, has been sort of me trying to achieve the perfect harmony of to sing a song just right, to hit every goddamn note, to just do everything perfect. The elusive dream. That if you do that you break the cycle, you redeem your suffering and your attachment to that perpetual Sisyphean loop, and that if you can do that, similar to any Messiah, other people can do that, and they see that, and then through that, you can redeem the whole entire universe. So I'm thinking that that's the weight that's on my shoulders right now. But to achieve that, I gotta run off into the woods. I don't know. But then in my head, I'm also occasionally sobering up and going like, well, you're just fucked up on drugs right now. What the fuck are you doing? Why are you starting to take off your clothes? Because I do. I don't get fucking naked, but I take off enough. I'm throwing shit all over my laptop and shit. So, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. Shit, what if? What's the worst that could happen? So the worst that could happen was pretty bad. I'm gonna get to the corrections officer. Don't you fret. It will be in the next part. Believe me. It's a funny story.